Hello YouTubers, right, just a quick video to show you what I'm doing in the kitchen. I've turned the kitchen into a little bit of a workshop, so it looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but there's a reason for that. I've managed to come up with a little idea. It's a little bit crude, so I do apologise, but this thing here I've made this morning, spent a couple of hours making this. No, it's not a dead man's handle for a tube train, though it looks like it, doesn't it? No, what it is, as you can see, this is going to be our block bell instrument sender and receiver, or sender. Principle is basically these two wires, these two green wires here. There's one I've soldered to this plate here, which I've made, and the other goes to the washer, which goes up through the spring. And if I turn it over, you can see there's one soldered to a plate underneath there I've put there, so that gives it good contact. So the whole thing was made out of a block of wood, some lolly sticks, a couple of nuts, and a bolt I've trimmed off at the end to give a counterweight balance, a simple spring, these two square bits of steel plate which I've cut to size, and this in the middle here, that was an old wheel from a class 47 loco that I didn't need anymore, so I basically soldered that in place. I know my soldering isn't brilliant, so please don't judge me on that, but I've basically soldered that, or welded it if you like, in place, and then just ground it all off as best I could, and that creates our little contact plate as well on there, because there's another wire, obviously, as mentioned, that goes on the corner which conducts electricity through all of this and that. So when it makes, with this plate underneath here, right, like that. So there we go. And the idea is, again, these pair of wires, these green wires that come out underneath where I've just drilled the holes through it under there. They will go up to a 12 volt, look, let's put my teeth in, 12 volt supply with a 12 volt bell. The bell that used to be in my cab simulator that I built, and that's dismantled, much against my grain giveaway, to Epping Signal Cabin Museum. But less said about that one, the better. And I've kept the bell, so I thought that would be great. And the idea is it's going to go on my control panel that I've built for, obviously, to put my controller and bits and pieces on, and switches for the layout. And I'm going to basically build a little shelf for this to go on, which will go above the lever frame when that gets installed for the point motors. So the idea is I'm going to have a laminated sheet with a bell code, and then obviously I can just make believe and, you know, and then obviously you can simulate the return bells from the box imaginary somewhere else, but I'll do a whole video on that principle, the principle of block signalling, and obviously the telegraph system using the bells and the signal box. But yeah, this is basically something I've just knocked up myself basically out of it. It's a scrap. This is off a hand door for furniture, some old furniture we threw away, but I like the handle. I thought that would come in nice for something. If I don't find a handle around the house that needs replacing, I'll keep it, because I've got loads of those. So I've got a few of those in my spares box. So I thought that's nice, because it's very retro, and it reminds me of the exact same instruments that I worked with in a signal box during my days in the signalling side on British Railways. One of the boxes I actually worked at was Hackney Downs. Although it was a modern push button panel, it still had this type of bell signal device to contact the signal box. And the idea behind that being is, before the days of telephones, the signalmen didn't have Wi-Fi, they didn't have iPhones, they didn't have emails or text messages, they didn't text each other. They used to talk to each other with one of these in the signal box, obviously not like this, but very similar in design and principle. And they used to send bell codes to each other, and it used to tell the signalman in the next box down the line, hi, I've got this type of train to send, can you accept it, is the line clear, will you accept my train of such and such? It might be a light engine, it might be parcels, it might be semi-fast, it might be a stopping service, fitted freight, it might be, there's again a sheet that I've got, I'll put up in the next video when I do this, and I'll talk you through it and tell you exactly what means what. It's very complicated, but very, very simple system. And again, when I visited the Swanage Railway a couple of weeks ago, they use this system. You've got telephone there, modern day telephone, but also you've got this device, which is far more reliable. And that, along with telegraph wires, which you see along the railway line, you used to have loads of telegraph wires that carried this electrical signal all the way along to the next signal box, so the signalman would know what signalman A was talking to from signal box B. And that's the principle. Again, it's quite a long drawn description process, so I'm not going to waffle on too much about it. But anyway, basically, short and sweet, I've knocked up this today. Obviously, I've got a couple of nuts, and as I mentioned, I've cut off a bolt as a counterweight on the end. I know it doesn't look very pretty, but the principle, as long as it works, that's the main thing. So we can, once it's connected up to the bell, we can, that's basically it. So I might paint it, I might leave it, I don't know what I'm going to do with this finish wise, but it's pretty much ready to go and designed. So there we are. That's that. Anyway, I'm going to go and tidy up and wash up before the other half gets home and she'll start moaning. Why is my kitchen like a workshop? This is why, guys, you're single, you see. Or try and be single. Anyway, I'll talk to you soon in the next one. Take care, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.